And welcome. This is Dave White sitting in for the one, the only, Tom O'Brien. We'll have Andy Heck in here at about 4:20. We'll cover kind of what's going on here. But for the most part, slightly higher in the S&P, up 4.4 points at 2398.42. NASDAQ 6138.71, up 5 points. Volume right now is coming in at about 3.4 billion shares on the New York consolidated tape. If we were going to bust higher, I've been looking for something like in the neighborhood of 5.5 billion shares. I'm going to show you something I do each day in the newsletter, probably in the last segment of the day, and we'll see that. But just mildly higher going into a 3-day weekend. This is not uncommon to go a little higher. Had a lot of stocks roll over today, though, kind of interestingly enough. I'm fairly bearish on the market, and that is because we've been going up with such light volume and light leadership. We continue to see a lot of days where the advancers are maybe just the same as the decliners. So the breadth is not what it should be. The volume certainly isn't what it should be. And then we're going to show you how the dollar amount has drizzled down to just about nothing. But as I always like to kick off my shows with a little bit of history.
There it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
On today in 1908, John Barden is born in Madison, Wisconsin, to an artist mother and a head of a university medical school. He goes straight from third grade to junior high, enters Wisconsin's engineering school at the age of 15 in 1947, co-invents the transistor at Bell Labs with William Shockey and Walter Brennan. Shockey was kind of the big cheese at Bell Labs, and these two other guys kind of took some of the stuff he did and ran off into the corner to beat him to the punch and then file on this. He kind of shoved his way on to the patent and never shared anything with these guys again. If you're familiar with electronics at all, you'll know that Shockey's got his name on a lot of different components and was really kind of the guy that got this all going. In 1956, all three shared the Nobel Prize on the 60th anniversary of Nobel's death and his prize. Shockey was one of these guys that kind of got his feelings hurt. He was the head of the labs. But very interesting that several years later they all got to share the Nobel Prize. And when we think about probably the biggest things to happen in the 20th century, nuclear weapons and transistors, probably the beginning of the tech generation. But I have to think those two things probably had more to do with the changes in all of our lives, even today, than anything else that was ever invented. And, of course, all because of Nobel not wanting to be remembered as the inventor of dynamite. But that's about it. We're going to go on to some other stuff here. You can always give me a call at 877-927-6648 or email me at path@tfnn.com. Other things going on. Any minute now, we should see earnings from Intuit. I didn't check right away, but it should be out before 4:30. In the morning, we have Lowe's, and, of course, Home Depot already came out. Tiffany's, which will give us a little window into what's going on the high end. Advanced Auto Parts, also tomorrow morning, although all the auto parts suppliers got hit on another company that whiffed on earnings in that sector today. After the bell tomorrow night, we've got App in TAP, HP, Guess Jeans, and Williams-Sonoma. So there's probably maybe Lowe's in the morning. Might be able to put a little bit in or out of the market, but my guess is that's already probably baked in with Home Depot's numbers already in. So you're not going to get a lot of movement on that. So again, Maybe headline risks, although the headlines that we saw last night and this morning didn't seem to do much for the market. Other things going on. Saved by the Bell, the communication software company, not NVIDIA, settled a dispute with Apple this morning. Nokia is what I'm looking for. I've got to put that in there. Nokia and Apple settled their patent disputes, and this is probably more of an issue of Apple, i.e., Apple wouldn't be around if Microsoft didn't lend money to Apple. They were going broke. Microsoft needed a computer company to compete against them so that they didn't get sued for antitrust. I suspect that this finishing of the patent issue with these two is something similar. It just doesn't cost them any money, and it's not really going to make a difference between them and Nokia. So at least one patent issue is out the door. Of course, we were talking about auto parts retailers this morning, and just the AutoZone really kind of whiffed out here, $11.44 per share, short of the consensus of $12, and that put a hurt on all of them this morning. And, of course, Agilent beat by 10 cents this morning. They're all about A, G's, T's, and C's, if you know anything about DNA. Beat by 10 cents, adjusted quarterly profit of 58 cents per share. Medical equipment and technology company also saw revenue come in above estimates and also raised its full-year guidance as its chemical, energy, and pharmaceutical business saw good growth. We'll take a look at that chart. We'll go to break, and we will talk to Andy Heck about commodities here for a while. Of course, he'll have his full show at 5 o'clock. And again, this is a pattern I talked about in my 2 o'clock hour show, and that is a lot of these stocks did today pierce and go higher, but they, by the end of the day, have pulled back pretty much either at or back under the trading range that they were in. In the case of Agilent, you had all the volume in the world. You only need about 1 million shares to go through the May 16th high. You had 7 million shares, and yet maybe a few pennies that held the high, but it even pulled back throughout the day. And I think that's kind of the tail that we saw in many of the charts. And we'll talk about that probably in the last couple of segments as we go through a few others. We'll, of course, watch for the earnings coming out after the bell and talk commodities here for the next 2 segments with my friend, a brother from another mother, Andy Heck.